go and be a part of something. But if you can't support me, support someone, but get off the couch, get out from behind your keyboard, go and actually be a part of something tangible, because there is something brewing in America and you don't want to miss it.
What would make a public school French teacher, someone who chose a career built on patience, connection, and showing up for kids, decide to run for Congress in one of the reddest, most rural districts in the country? Well, for Erik Terwey, the answer wasn't ambition, it was exhaustion. Exhaustion with watching his students' families skip doctor visits because they couldn't afford the bill, with watching rural hospitals shutter one by one, with watching Eastern Oklahoma get left behind election cycle after election cycle by politicians who show up at church every Sunday but vote against the people in the pews on Monday. Erik is a Bartlettsville native, a proud Teach for America alumnus, and a master's degree holder from the University of Oklahoma. He taught French in public schools, he was a union member, and he's also seen a $100,000 medical bill. He knows what it's like to feel. He knows what it feels like when an overdraft notice hits and the account is already empty. Amen to that. And that's the life of a whole lot of people in the 2nd District who've never had a representative who've actually lived it with them. He's running on Medicaid for all, fully funded public schools, affordable energy, and an end to the forever wars that have drained working class communities for generations. He refuses PAC money, boom, and corporate donations because he believes a candidate who is bought cannot be trusted to fight. Today, he's here to tell us all exactly who he's fighting for and why he believes that one honest voice can still make a difference. So welcome to the show, Erik. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, listen, I already know this is going to be a great conversation because we got into it already, and I just appreciate your whole vibe. I was really looking forward to this interview today because of your background, because of the fact that you didn't grow up wanting to run for office, and here we are. I think this is hopefully becoming a common theme amongst us, So what was that moment in the classroom or your community where you decided, like, wait a minute?
Well, I started teaching in 2009, and I taught in public schools for 5 years. It was really great. But in 2014, around the time that Sandy Hook happened, I realized that gun violence was not an issue that our legislatures, either at the state level or the federal level, were going to address. And those teachers who are in urban settings are on the front lines. Those are the teachers who go to school every day and there are guns, just more present because those, cities just collect more crime, more violence, and a lot more of those weapons. And so they were coming to school all of the time. I was getting scared and I realized nothing was going to change. It was just too dangerous. So I decided to get out of teaching. I came home, started working with a friend in a small business because she had a young family. She didn't really have time to do it all. And so she was kind of doing me a solid by giving me a job. I was helping her out, by helping take care of her business. And I realized really quickly that the government really wasn't helping small businesses thrive. And it was something that I had heard campaigns say over and over and over at every level, my entire life. And yet there I was watching this small business really struggle. And so I realized, wow, the government wasn't working for my students. These kids are dying from gang violence. Their families are torn apart by incarceration. They're hungry, all of the time. The only meals they get are the free breakfast and lunch that they were served at school. They were coming to the school during the summer to get their meals. I mean, these are really desperate situations. I was hemming the clothes that were donated for my students, to make them fit, because I had a sewing club after school. And so, because I'm a quilter, and actually that's not something I've talked about in an entire year. As I'm an avid quilter and I haven't gotten to do any of that since I started this, but I used to sew. But that's just, I saw, wow, these kids are being completely let down by our government. And our government really is just us, right? It's just society's way of helping out where we're supposed to help. So I'm looking at us saying, shame on us. This really sucks, And then I'm looking at how the government was really letting down my friend who's white, who has all the access in the world, middle class, everything. And yet she's still struggling with that business. Why was that happening? I had so much student debt because my family was working class. My dad was a carpenter. My mom was a craftsman who didn't even graduate high school. The odds were stacked against me, so I went to college, but with debt. And that was okay. I thought I would pay it off, and that didn't materialize. I still carry a lot of that. So here I am, looking at my country and wondering, where is it working for anybody? And then I got sick. And a couple years ago, I got, sent to the hospital, nearly died, had $100,000 worth of debt when I came out. Now, I had insurance and I was able to get almost all of that taken care of. We had a huge deductible, don't get me wrong. They got their pound of flesh, their $15,000 pounds of flesh, but I still had something that a lot of people don't in our country. And I realized, wow, this is a real problem. My parents recently retired. My mom is an amputee. She's on disability. My dad doesn't have the best health all of the time. He's getting older. And so I'm just looking around saying, no one's coming to help. Nobody is coming to help us. And it's time for somebody to start talking about the things that we're going through that really matter to us. We don't care about certain things like ballrooms or bombs in Iran. We're worried about feeding the kids around here. We're worried about taking care of the elderly. We're worried about keeping our hospitals open. We have other things to worry about, real fucking problems. And that's the stuff that I wasn't hearing about. And I thought, God, if no one's going to stand up and fight for me, then I'll do it myself. And so that's what happened. Last year, I just thought, damn it, no one's going to do this. So here we are.
Well, listen, I love that you're standing up and doing it. I don't love the circumstances around it, but there's a real panic that sets in. You open up a bill and it says that you owe $100,000. Even $15,000, and people. I have a whole theory about like Karens, and I think that like it's terrible behavior, but like if you really look at the root, it's like I get it. Like we've all did what we said we're gonna do, and then you still open up and you got $100,000 bill, and it makes you feel insane, and it makes you want to go burn something down and hit somebody. You never hit anybody your whole life. You want to punch somebody. Like it fear. You know what I mean? Confusion, anger, fear. Fear.
And if they've never felt that sensation of the blood just leaving your face, that prickly sensation of your skin getting tight, and you're like, wait, did I mess something up? Because everything is so precarious. You're not just living paycheck to paycheck. You're living overdraft to overdraft. And that's where a lot of people are at right now. And so when we've got people buying groceries on Klarna and credit and all this other stuff, that's a real problem. And our president has admitted he doesn't think about these things when he's abroad starting wars or doing trade negotiations. He does not consider that. And people like me, unfortunately, live in districts where we have representatives who have completely given their congressional authority to the president. So, I hate to talk about President Trump. People are like, you're not running against Trump. Well, when he has all the power that our representative has given, that was, given by us to our representative, when he hands that to Donald Trump, then yes, I am. Yes, I am going to hold him to the standard that we would have held our representative, because that coward stepped aside. And so now we see the consequences of this.
I agree. It's like when you call these senators and they're like, are you a constituent? It's like, I understand why they ask, but like, it doesn't matter. Whatever your dumb boss decides is going to impact me too. It doesn't matter if I'm a constituent. Like, I understand the logistics of it and why they want to know, but like everything Marjorie Taylor Greene did and everything, but it impacts all of us. So this idea that we only get to have an opinion, or you don't get to have an opinion about Trump, because no. It's all the body of the same snake. It's the same thing. Go ahead.
Well, and some of us have a representative that we can't even call. So, when we call, we never get through. On their social media, we're not allowed to comment. They don't hold town halls where we're allowed to interact. And so, those senators who are maybe across the aisle but willing to take a phone call sometimes need to just understand you're taking one for your shitty team. Maybe if your team, did what they were supposed to do, you wouldn't be fielding these calls. So, tell them to play ball. I mean, answer the hard questions. Just answer the phone, for God's sake.
Answer the phone. Yeah. It's yeah, every once in a while when I'm extra emotional, I'll make those calls and I just use it as like therapy and venting, but that's not productive for anybody. Let's talk about the rural hospitals in eastern Oklahoma and what does that really look like? Because I think that I mentioned earlier I was at a party and somebody was like, Molly makes everything political. Well, everything is political, right? And so let's talk about these rural hospitals that are closing and what does that actually mean? Like I live in Costa Rica. Closest hospital is 45 minutes away, right? So I already know I'm probably going to die if anything really bad goes down, but like I traded it for the view, so it is what it is. You know what I mean? I could have died any moment in DC too, even with the hospital 7 minutes away. So you pick your battles, right? But for a rural community, right, that has nowhere else to go, and it's hours to get to anywhere, all jokes aside, like this is a matter of life and death. This is not a political issue or bike lanes or sidewalks or, ordinances. This is like your actual life. So why should Oklahomans be paying attention to this right now?
They are paying attention to this. And the reason that they are is because what happens to rural Oklahoma happens to all of Oklahoma. Tulsa knows that when hospitals close in the communities around them, those people have to turn to those metro area hospitals. When I got sick here in Bartlesville, I was in the hospital for 24 hours here, but they made it clear within an hour, we can't treat you here. We have to send you to a better facility. And I had to wait, almost an entire day for a bed to open up in Tulsa for them to then rush me to with an ambulance. It was crazy, but that's with hospitals being open and just understaffed and underserved. What happens when they start closing? And we're finding that out right now because they are. They are closing their doors. This isn't hypothetical. We know that 70% of our rural hospitals here are operating at a loss. That's incredible when you think about it. And just imagine if 70% of the medical facilities around you were operating at a loss and they decided to close their doors. What happens to those populations? We're already, like you said, you're living 45 minutes from a hospital. Many people already do, here in eastern Oklahoma. They already live very far from, the closest community health center, which might not even be adequate to serve their needs. We have women who drive 2 hours out of the state to go get an OBGYN appointment in Texas because there just isn't one. It's not that they're even trying to seek services. You can't go to Texas to get anything special as a woman. They just want to see an OB, and there isn't one in Oklahoma, in the southeast part of the state. It's incredible, the maternity care deserts, the grocery deserts, the healthcare deserts, the education deserts that we have here. It's incredible. But healthcare is so important because a healthy nation is a prosperous nation. They're a productive nation. They're a happy nation. And we know that people need to be healthy in order to achieve anyone's version of the American dream. And we know that when people have to travel 2 hours to see a doctor, they're not going to go. They're just not going to go. People die. They choose not to go to the hospital. I chose not to go to the hospital for several days when I should have gone. And it's just a mentality we already have around here. We're a very independent kind of people. We are, a do-it-yourself kind of clan, if you will, out here in Oklahoma. Like we will roll up our sleeves and we will do the damn job ourselves. And even if it comes to like getting healthy, you think like, well, I'll just suck it up. My immune system will kick in. Well, sometimes it won't. And you need help. And if there is no help, what happens? Well, we're seeing what happens. They're starting to sell us insurance for helicopter life flight services now. I mean, you're starting to see billboards for that and ads online. I mean, that's what you get with hospitals closing. You get a helicopter ride instead of an
Monetize
ambulance.
it, put you in even further debt. Then they're going to build a data
Yep.
center and poison you even more
Oh,
in
yeah,
your
and we have
water, and
so many of those going in our district. And why? Because we're desperate. We're desperate for jobs. We are the 50th in education, so a lot of people don't understand the risks associated with them. We have a representative who is on board with President Trump's no AI regulation for 10 years or 5 years, project or whatever. I mean, the list goes on, but we're vulnerable to these people. And so, it's just one problem after another kind of compounded. Yeah.
let's talk about PAC money and how to really pull this off, because as a business owner, I have to make those decisions too. I told a few people this year, my skills and services are not available to you, evil Trump. But that's a decision that I get to make, right? And running for office is really expensive. That's just reality.
Sure.
It's really expensive, even to get the voter rolls and all. Like they're not messing around. You know what I mean? They're going to make it as hard as possible for you. And part of that is just life. Campaign managers cost money. Mailers cost money. Offices, signs cost money. There needs to be some money in politics, right? But where that money is coming from. And I think that groups like APAC, I think America is waking up to all of this, right? And people like AOC are really shedding a light. And every candidate that I have interviewed so far has been very firm on not taking any PAC money or APAC money. And I love that. I don't think that the old guard realizes what a line in the sand APAC is right now, or PAC money. We have all woken up and we see exactly what you're doing, and your hand is in the cookie jar, and it's been there so long you have a permanent indentation for where your hand is sliding in, and we're not doing it anymore, right? But somebody's still got to pay the campaign manager. Somebody's still got to, there still needs to be some money. So let's talk about how do you build a campaign with that infrastructure, and how can people support you in that campaign?
Well, I think that, some of us just realize there has to be money in politics, but there doesn't have to be as much money in politics. So you look at a campaign like the one we're running. My campaign manager just happens to be somebody who really fucking believes in what we're doing. And while she's, also happens to be my best friend, she's really adept at what she does. We're running a really great campaign, but she also comes free of charge because she really, really passionately believes in this. I know some people have to raise more money because they have to go out and find a campaign manager. I get that. Where I find I get the best response is when I go out and meet actual voters, when I meet with Democrats and I let them know, hey, listen, I'm not coming to you as a politician. I'm coming to you as your neighbor. I know that we might live 2.5 hours apart, but let me tell you my story, because I bet it sounds a lot like yours. And the things that you're going through, I'm going through too. And $5 and $10 and $20 here and there starts to add up a lot faster than you think it does. And when you have somebody who is an Oklahoma mother, who understands how to stretch a dollar, who is a small business owner who has struggled, when you have someone like that at the helm, and when you've gone through what you have yourself, when you cut coupons as a kid with your mom, when you know how to get triple coupons at Homeland on a certain day, and then you're going to Price Cutter to get this, and then you're going to Skaggs Alpha Beta to get, when you know how to stretch a dollar, you don't need millions to win a campaign. You just need support. And that's really, you just need people to believe in you. And we've got that. We've got people. I never leave a group and think, oh man, that just didn't hit. I leave a group so freaking energized, so excited, so inspired by this reciprocity of energy. And it's like a synergy, right? We just know we're going to do fantastic things together. And so I'm raising money little by little. It's enough for us. Would it be enough for a conventional Democrat? Fuck no. because they waste money and they run to the center and they want to suck at the corporate, mother teat. And that's just not me. I'm not that guy. And so Republicans couldn't do what we're doing. Centrist Democrats can't do what we're doing. Only a true, transparent, progressive Democrat can run a shoestring grassroots campaign and kick the shit out of every Republican on the way. And that's what we're doing.
I'm fired up. I'm like, I want to go to these meetings. I want to be there. Yeah. I want to feel that, man. I want to feel that.
Listen, it when you've got 75-year-old ladies jumping out of their seats, pumping their arms in the air, you've hit a nerve. And that's what's happening. I've got these retirees getting out of wheelchairs, like they are determined to walk again kind of moments. So yeah, it's great.
I love that. And yeah, I will say your greatest strength will be like Gen X and boomer women who are coming out of the fog because we got nothing to lose and we are pissed off. And a lot of us don't have husbands because they left or they died or we never had one. And we see the patriarchy.
Or you divorced them because they're shitty maggots or something.
We are ready to ride at dawn, my dude. Like, trust me, there's like they say hell has no fury like a scorned woman. No, hell has no fury like a scorned menopausal woman, right? Because literally... don't like me? Perfect. Get out of my way. Next, let's focus on what matters. Let's burn the whole thing down and rebuild because we've seen it all and we bought into it and then we woke up because we realized that it's all a lie. It's all a trap. Speaking of lies and traps, let's talk about the Cherokee Nation's treaty to a right to a delegate and the fact that you are supporting that and not many others aren't, which I highly, highly respect and appreciate. What compelled you to do that as a white man in Oklahoma?
I live in the Cherokee Nation reservation. My entire district is reservation land. It covers different tribes, obviously, all of them sovereign, each of them unique. But they are represented by a man who has no interest in learning about their history, representing their history. And this is a pattern. They'll claim to be, I'm Choctaw, I'm Chickasaw, I'm Cherokee. But what have you done for me lately? And so I'm just tired of seeing representatives not doing what they should be doing. And it seems like everybody wants to hold everyone else to the letter of the law except ourselves. And let's talk about these 200-year-old treaties. Let's talk about the fact that they've patiently been waiting for 190 years to have their representative in Congress. That's crazy. It's someone that would not have the right to vote on the floor, but would have every other right in Congress. Every other right. They could introduce bills. They could sit in committees. They could vote in those committees. They would get paid. They would have an office. They would have a voice. And there is also a provision in a treaty with the Choctaw Nation that if Congress so wants, they can offer one to them as well. And it's something that the Choctaw have never pursued, but it's something they could. And if they wanted, I would absolutely champion that cause for them. Absolutely 100%.
So let's get into the current representation, Josh Brecheen. Is that how you say his name? Brecheen?
Brecheen.
Okay, I'm not gonna mispronounce it on purpose. I promise.
Yeah.
He makes his Christian faith like a centerpiece of his political identity. And so we're not here to attack his faith or anybody's faith, but the fact that faith isn't represented at when he's voting for his community members, right? He claims to love them in church, but then he votes against them on Monday morning. So, what do you say to faith communities in Eastern Oklahoma that have voted for him expecting something different? What is your message to them right now?
My message to them, I think, is to really look at not what people say. Don't listen to what people say. Look at what they do. Our representative will talk about the grace of God, the love of Christ, the gift of mercy, and then he'll turn around and vote to take away food. He'll vote to continue bombing innocent people abroad. He'll vote to continue funding others committing a genocide in Gaza. these are things that I think are antithetical to our Christian values. And I can say that as someone who shares those same values that Josh Brecheen purports to have, and that many in Oklahoma have. I mean, let's face it, this is a Christian part of the state, and this is a big part of the buckle of the Bible Belt, So we're trying to speak the same language here, and I think that I would tell them, listen to, look at what he actually does, and stop listening to what he says, because what he says sounds really nice, but what he does is not what Jesus would do. And taking away healthcare is just not something Jesus never said he never said, hey, hand me those fishes, hand me those loaves, I'm going to multiply them. And then while I'm doing that, go ahead and fill out these forms and tell me how many hours you worked this week. And then when I'm done multiplying them, you come back with your forms in triplicate and, notarized, and then I'll give you some food. Like, are you fucking kidding me with this? Like, when people were selling stuff in the temple, he went in there and got violent. He threw people around. He whipped them. He threw their shit on the floor. He got crazy. And I think that's how we kind of metaphorically have to get about this. We've got corporations in our democratic temple, and it's time we clean house. We just have to clean house. And people like Josh Brecheen will mix their religion and patriotism. You can't question one because it's to question the other. And so it's this weird mixture of patriotism, capitalism, Christianity, and they kind of wrap it all up in one. And it's like, what the fuck is this? I don't understand it, because Jesus wasn't a capitalist, bro. Never was he a capitalist. And just the whole idea. I mean, he brought people from being a tax collector to being, a charitable, giving, loving person. I mean, I could go on and on. I could go on and on and on, all day long about this stuff. But basically, I would say he's not living his faith. And, I made a video recently that, not that recently, it was around Easter, but it was like, live your faith, Josh. And if you're not going to live your faith, shut the fuck up. Quit telling us about your faith if you're not going to live it. Just shut the fuck up. And, that's what I would say.
Well, listen, I can dig it. I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school for the first 8 years of my life, and I've actually read the Bible. And I tapped out before confirmation because I had a lot of doubts, because I didn't understand if Jesus was all forgiving, then why are we punishing me? There was so many contradictory things, and so I just chose to live a life that was more. I'm not a religious person, but I think I behave more like a religious person than some religious people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. Nice and morally, so to speak.
Yeah. I care about people. Crazy concept. Yes, I don't want anybody to suffer. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't.
You weirdo.
People intentionally. I don't know. It's weird.
It's so
but
strange.
and back to the fish and the loaves. The analogy is only slightly broken, because in this current political religious environment, Jesus would have set up a canning factory, and he would have covered his profits, and his P&L and his board members would have been happy, and then he would have had you fill out the application 3 months after the fish had spoiled and the bread sucked, and then he would sell it to you at an exorbitant rate. Depending on which county you lived in and which line you were in, you would pay a different price. So you know what I mean? The whole thing is so rotten.
You're right.
It's rotten, why does anybody control Wi-Fi? Why does anybody control the food source? I used to think that people had said food is a human right, or housing, and then I thought, well, that's pie in the sky ridiculous. But no, why is it ridiculous? Why is it?
Yeah.
I could grow enough food to feed lots of people on my land, but I can't. You know what I mean? I can here in Costa Rica. They'll let you do almost anything. I could start a cult here if I wanted to. Just saving that for later, just in case things go real south. But you know what I mean? You have all these regulations on what seeds you can use, and Monsanto and farms, and I don't even know the half of it not being from a farming place like Oklahoma. I'm sure you know much more about that than I do. So the whole thing is rotten, and I think that even people who don't understand exactly how, they just know it is, right? They can feel it in their day-to-day. And so let's talk about Eastern Oklahoma's economy being tied to oil and gas, because that's a big thing, right? There's so much misinformation on the Green Bill and global warming and yada, yada, yada. So what does that look like for, a pipeline worker or a roughneck who's heard these promises before and nothing changes?
So, I am a big proponent of something called Mission for America, which people can find at newconsensus.com. And it's nothing that they haven't endorsed me, and I haven't signed on to anything. It's just an amazing blueprint for how we walk our economy in a 10-year plan from the industry that we have today to a more modern, green, and I think better equipped sector for the future. And so it shows us how do we take our electrical grid and how do we turn it green? How do we take our heavy industry like steel, for example? How do we make green steel? Because people assume a green economy doesn't include manufacturing. That's wrong. That is so dead wrong. The whole idea is we want to take the dead industries, the husks of what's left over from when these industries left Oklahoma before, when manufacturing fled. We want to take those and we want to breathe new life into them with an industry that does not yet exist. And we want to be the first ones to do it because we were the first ones to have really great access to oil. I mean, Oklahoma is rich, crazy rich, because we were the first to really develop oil wells on a broad statewide scale. I mean, we have the first commercial oil well here in Oklahoma, just down the street from where I live. We have the only state capital that is surrounded by working oil derricks. I mean, this state has a relationship with oil that is unlike any other state. And so when we talk about transitioning our economy, we want to be careful. We don't want people to think that we are eliminating their jobs. Those people who are working on those pipelines, they have a job tomorrow when we are trying to build a new grid. They have a job when we're trying to outfit these factories for this, retrofit them for the new, steel or the new manufacturers of tomorrow. I mean, there is a place for them. And I know that it sounds like I'm speaking in broad terms, but listen, if you want details, if you go to that website, it's a 21-point plan. Each of those points has a 20-page PDF that will walk you through the excruciating minutia that it will take. But trust me, it's all there. Progressives aren't just dreamers. I know a lot of people think that Medicare for all and paying for education for everyone and making sure everyone has a job, that these are pie in the sky ideas. No, these are plans on paper. These are ideas that we have written into bills that we are ready to introduce on day one. These are things that we are going to get done. And we invite other people to stop sitting around being scared and start dreaming about what is possible with our country again, because all they've done is condition us to divide ourselves up with that fear so that we can't concentrate on the things that really, really would move us forward. And together we can do that, but only if we stop worrying about the shit that they want us to worry about and start thinking about, hey man, if we get everyone off the streets, what does that look like? If we have everybody going to the doctor, if all kids have access to meals, if all vets come home and have the mental health services that they deserve, if our rural communities are saved, if our hospitals are open, if we can have post offices in every town, we can have a hospital in every town, or a clinic. It's just about priorities. What are we dreaming about? And why can't we dream big anymore? Progressives do that. And but we're also planning. We learned a long time ago we can't just be the dreamers. We got to be the fucking doers too. And so we've grown up. We've grown out of that idealist phase, and we are into our doing era. And we're getting shit done now.
Get up, get out, and do something. I love it. I love
absolutely.
It. All right. Well, we're gonna end in a second, but I have one last question for you. What does success look like if you make it to DC? What does success look like, and what does it look like in 5 years?
Yeah. So I think that success, when we talk about getting to DC, it's a movement. It's not about Erik Terwey. It's not about, Jeff Pixley. It's not about, any one particular guy from Oklahoma or any one particular progressive. It's about an attitude. It's about moving our party to not to the left or not to the center, but aligning it with workers' needs. And today those needs look like Medicare for all. So it's going to look like moving the needle on that. It's going to look like making sure that people like AOC know that they finally have help. Like the cavalry is arriving. It's holding our elected officials accountable. It's making sure that if Donald Trump doesn't give them some kind of disgusting blanket pardon, that we are hauling their asses in front of Congress, and every single one of those cabinet members will be made to justify why they did what they did and why they were the sycophants that they were, instead of the public servants we deserved. That's what it will look like. It will look like holding our government's feet to the fire for the working class. And I think that's something that just hasn't happened in a really long time.
And we're all feeling it. We're feeling it in every single aspect of our life, no matter where you are. We're all feeling it, even if you can't identify it or put words to it or whatever.
Yes.
But you're feeling it, and we've been feeling it for a long time. And I think you're absolutely right. We need to learn how to be kind again. People have really taken a lot of pleasure in normalizing cruelty.
Yeah, cruelty.
And I don't think that's who we are. And I don't know how to stop it. But I think that voting for guys like you and helping guys like you in your campaign feels like a good place to start.
Absolutely. And, because I don't know where to start except to stop legislating it. They're legislating cruelty. We can start there. Let's start there.
Amen. Erik, before we go, tell people if they are feeling fired up and inspired by you and enjoying this conversation, how can they help, whether it's a donation or sharing, or what can they do to help?
Sure. So if you are inspired by me, please go to our website, terweyforcongress.com. That's TERWEYFOR Congress.com. And I would say, listen, if you're not feeling like, oh man, that guy from Oklahoma is someone I could support, I totally understand it. Find someone near you to support instead. And if the deadline hasn't passed, get out there and become the candidate that the people around you need. I have other people who stepped up and were like, I'm going to help you last summer, and now they can't. And why? Because their asses are running for an Oklahoma State House district, and I fucking love it. That's what a movement looks like. So infect someone with some energy. Go and be a part of something. But, if you can't support me, support someone, but get off the couch. Get out from behind your keyboard. Go and actually be a part of something tangible, because there is something brewing in America, and you don't want to miss it.
Woo, that's so good. I don't want to say anything else because I'm messing all up. On that note, thank you for being on the show today. I really enjoy my time with you, and I wish I did live in Oklahoma. I could come hang out with you and Jeff. You guys are the best, honestly.
Well, we wish we lived in Costa Rica. We would, trust me. Yeah.
Fair, and I'll take it. Well, listen, Erik, thank you again for taking time to be with me and share your thoughts on this show. And I'm sure that you're going to inspire some others to do it, because how could you not? So, thank you. Thank you all for tuning in to What Do We Do Next? If you are enjoying it, please consider subscribing to my Substack. Every dollar that goes to the Substack goes towards putting ads on the podcast so it gets seen and heard by more people. I think the goal here is just to give you guys something to do that's not doom scrolling, because we probably started a new war, done something terrible in the last 37 minutes we've been on this call. But you didn't hear it because you were listening to this podcast, and so half of my job is already done. Hopefully you're inspired, and like Erik said, go get up, get out, and do something. Be a part of the movement. I promise you it's going to feel a lot better to be with people that feel the same way than to feel completely alone in your house, because you are not alone in your house. Even little old me from Costa Rica is right there with you, Probably better I'm here. I'd been arrested already, and then I couldn't do it. So on that note, please, no more cruelty. Lead with kindness. Take my own advice. And until next time, please be excellent to each other. Thank you.